Hello buddy, welcome back to another episode of Just What I am playing Final Fantasy XIV. Last episode we continued with our beautiful little school life situations over here in Ishgard, and today we're gonna go and continue even more, probably finish it. We're also gonna be doing this entire investigation stuff as a monk. I'm ready to smack some people in the face. If only I could have done more to dissuade them. This blind persecution will only serve to further divide us, and Archibald's expulsion would be a tremendous loss for the Scholasticate. Why will no one listen to reason? Theo, there's still time to turn things around. I'm sure of it. I'll help you in any way I can. Thank you, Blazy, for your kind words. Indeed, it's not too late to reverse the course of today's event. We should try speaking with Father Saturnois. Surely he'll know what to do. Incredible. Despite all that, he is still intent on saving Archibald. Then there's no talking him out of it. Consider how our last discussion ended. Considering how our last discussion ended, it would put me at ease if you would accompany us. I should be staying behind. There are a few things that I would attend to here. My dear Blazy, if you would, I could do with an extra pair of hands. In that case, Lynn, let us make haste to the cathedral. The headmistress is waiting. A meeting will not run forever, and we must catch Father Saturnois before the others do. Theomasant, Lay, and Lynn, whatever brings you here in such a hurry? I'm happy to consider the petition I just received from the student body. Not to worry, rest assured that I have reviewed the document and will be submitting it to the headmistresses shortly. Along with my own strong recommendation in favor of Archibald's immediate and irrevocable expulsion from the Scholasticate. Wait, Father. We are not here in support of the petition, but rather to argue against it. We cannot rightly expel Archibald for a crime that the evidence or lack thereof suggests he did not even commit. Quite true, and yet it is not because I believe him guilty that I have chosen to move forward with this proposal. Then why? For too long has our church been corrupted by men and women who would see its foundation built upon sin instead of virtue. I mean to put an end to this vicious cycle. What are you saying? Theomasant Lay, there is something you must know. When I was young, I too was taken under the wing of Father Choiseul. It was by his good graces that I gained admission into the Scholasticate. I hate that word so much, not unlike yourselves. I devoted myself entirely to my studies, that I might prove myself worthy of his kindness. My dedication was rewarded when I graduated at the top of my class and secured a prized position in the archives, alongside some of the Holy See's most esteemed individuals. It was there that I met the man who had become my closest friend and confidant. For 10 years he had toiled in the sea's darkest recesses, working to see that ugly truth of Ishgard's past would never see the light of day. Until the day the burden grew too great to bear, and he took his own life. For years I was torn between grief and anger at not being able to save him from his fate. Fearing my anguish would consume me, I found succor in my religion. Day and night I'd pore over scripture, and soon I found myself back in these very halls. Not as a student, but as a teacher. A tragic story indeed, and you have my condolences for your loss, but what does any of this have to do with Archibald? Of the Fury's love will all men receive, and by the balance of her spear will all be set free. Doubtless you too are familiar with these words. Those who deny the teachings of Volume 11 commit the greatest sin of all. They must bear full responsibility for the injustices wrought on the victims of our society. Master Archibald has done naught but scorn the truths penned within a tome. His dismissal is long overdue. This is madness. The Fury knows I bear no love for the bastard, but what you propose is to lay the blame for generation upon generation of the Church's transgressions at his feet. I do only what must be done. Countless lives were lost in the Dragonsong War. We must needs purge the Church of any who espouse the false ideal that all men are not born equal, that the sins of our past are never repeated, and that the clergy might be restored to their former glory. I have faith in you, my children. Reflect on the teachings of Father Choiseul. If you do not understand now, you will soon enough. It is true that Father Choiseul was an ardent advocate of equality, who strove always to adhere to the principles espoused and equal under her ever-watchful gaze. It's equally true that Archibald has been outspoken in condemning that self-same passage. Still, that hardly warranted his expulsion. You must admit, the man has a point. Making an example of the son of one of Ishgard's most prominent houses would send a message, and it just might be the fastest way to bring about the change he seeks. Whether or not that change would be for the better, however, is another matter entirely. It was one thing when it was just an angry mob of seminarians calling for Urkabadan's head. Now that Father Southern Wine tends to lead the charge, it's another matter entirely. Whatever are we to do? Just talk to Archibald. Archibald? Whatever, man. But of course, Archibald's nothing if not astute. He's sure to have an idea or two on how to extricate himself from this predicament. Come, let us make for the pillars. What base accusation would you care to hurl at me this time, attempting to destroy the church, or perhaps you're here to bring light to the personal hand I had in instigating the Dragonsong War? Perhaps instead of entertaining every ridiculous rumor you hear, you might actually make yourself useful for once. You can start by questioning those two beside you. After all, they're the ones who arranged this entire farce and have been spreading these letters in a pathetically transparent attempt to incriminate me that I might be expelled. Please listen, Archibald. We know that the accusations being leveled at you are unfounded. I know we had our differences, but today we come to lend you our aid. He's so full of rage he can scarce hear a word I say. Please, and perhaps you can try soothing him. Soothed. Forsooth. Don't make me laugh. You expect me to believe that you, the two who would stand to gain the most from my expulsion, have not so much as seen the nonsense that's been making the rounds in the dormitories? The truth revealed Archibald Zemail, a kidnapper? Trust me, were we to try and implicate you in a crime you didn't commit, we would have done a far more thorough job than this. Indeed, these writings simply make an appeal to emotion with not a single piece of concrete evidence to support the accusation. Fine, perhaps it wasn't you two after all. Still, you rest assured that when I get my hands on a commoner that did this, they'll rue the day they thought to meddle with the affairs of House the Mail. You best realize we commoners are not the ones on trial here. You are. I suggest you watch your tongue, unless you would prefer to lose the only allies you seem to have these days. Do not lose heart, Archibald. Together we'll uncover the truth and see that this baseless petition against you is withdrawn. Why would I need your help? My innocence is beyond question, and the Fury herself would see my good name restored. I pray that she will. In the meantime, we too shall do our part. For your sake, Theo, leave it be. Ugh. That aside, where did these papers even come from, and why didn't we receive one? If I had to guess, perhaps they were given only to those most inclined to believe the accusations. Foolishness at best, if anything. These letters will only give me the clues I need to identify the coward behind them. As a matter of fact, I believe I know precisely where to begin my search. Brilliant. We would be more than happy to assist you in the investigation. Where would you have us go? And hand to you the very knife you would put in my back. Do you think me daft? If the petition is approved and I am expelled, that would put you right at the top of the class. How very convenient. Oh, Archibald, don't you see? It is not for awards or accolades that I study the scriptures as I do. I seek only to follow in the footsteps of Father Choiseul. It was he who granted me the chance to achieve the grand vision he had for our realm, and to bring relief to those in need of spiritual succor. Out of Fury's love will all men receive, and by the balance of her spear will all be set free. I would share the wisdom of these words with all of Ishgard. Volume 11 of the 72 Articles of Hellenic Polity. What is it with commoners and their obsession with that over-idealistic screed? Come, Archibald, let us not waste any further time entertaining the idle musings of the riffraff. Look, we can manage just fine without your help, but if you do find anything, not that we expect you to do, you'll report back to us if you know what's good for you, understand? If I don't know any better, I'd almost think that sounded like a thank you. Well, if there's anything else to do here, I suppose we should set to work. Or if there's nothing else to do here, whatever. An excellent idea, eh? Now, where do you propose we should start? The Fury save us. If we could only track down the author of the letters and convince them to recant these statements, the student body would have no choice but to withdraw their emotion. But where would he even search? By searching for more of the same document. A brilliant plan, Lynn. By examining all the letters that have been distributed throughout the Scholasticate, we may very well find clues leading us to the culprit. It's settled then. Let's return to the Scholasticate and commence our search. Run, Lynn, run! Dangerous Dave. I like that name. Good soup. Hello. Theo has already apprised me of the situation. Not that I needed to, mind you. It is for that very reason that I remained behind Blazy, to investigate the origin of the nasty rumors flying about. It didn't take long for us to connect rumors to the letters and coax one of the seminarians to show us the document they had received. I investigated further, and behold, these are all the ones I managed to collect in my search thus far. Under normal circumstances, the baseless invectives penned here would hardly suffice to convince anyone. It would seem, however, years of harbored animosity have blinded people to their better judgment. Ah yes, in fact, Crème and I have been gathering letters all morning. Feast your eyes on this. One of the girls said that the letters just showed up on her bed, as if out of nowhere. I returned to my quarters to check if I had received something similar, but there was nothing to be found. At first I thought it a simple oversight, but after asking around I learned that there were more than a few others who, like me, had been overlooked. Suspicious letters, whatever you're talking about. I've not received anything of the sort. Now that you mention it, however, I did observe some of the seminarians tossed out crumpled slips of paper. Mayhap these are the letters you seek? And then one more. Just one more. Ah, Lynn, did your search prove fruitful? Flimsy slip of paper with hastily penned accusations written upon it, alleging that Archibald de Zemeel is responsible for Ula's kidnapping. Or Ula's. Excellent, let us take a closer look and see what we can discern. How curious. It would appear our culprit has gone through the trouble of writing and distributing 3 distinctively different versions of the letter. The first reads, as illustrated by the recent abductions that has taken place within the sacred halls, Archibald will stop at nothing to eliminate those who stand in his way. Such blatant disrespect of her teachings must not be tolerated. The second says, it is one thing to disagree with the opinions of your fellow seminarians. It is quite another to abuse one's influence to have your ideological opponents removed. Eula, a firm believer in the teachings of Volume 11 of the Articles of Hellenic Polity and staunch advocate of equality, fell victim to Archibald's treachery. The villain cannot go unpunished. And last but not least, Eula's copy of Volume 11 was discovered in the prefect's room shortly after the girl's disappearance. This, more than anything, proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Archibald is guilty. While the letter at least offers an argument, it's hardly a compelling one. Correct me if I'm mistaken, but aren't there several copies of the Article of Hellenic Polity sitting in our library shelves? Well, I can't speak to why Archibald would have one in the first place. The book found in his quarters could have been any of those. Blazy, when you spoke with Eula earlier, did you mention anything about Volume 11? I didn't think anything of it at the time, but while Eula was recovering in the infirmary, she asked that I retrieve her copy from her room. When I went to look for it, it wasn't there. Which would mean the tome was removed unbeknownst to her. So it would seem, after all, she testified that when the 2 thugs seized her at the marketplace, she had nothing on her person but a pocket of gil. Presumably the book was still in her quarters then. It would be one thing if the book had disappeared with Eula, but for someone to sneak into her room and remove it after the fact, why, it's as if the culprit intended to use it to frame Archibald all along. Well, I outbest my last gil, you're right, and that's the reason none of us received the letter. We're the only people who would be able to confirm with Eula that the book had been pilfered from her room. But who would go to such great lengths to frame Archibald? That's our Theo, always striving to help his fellow man, even if that man is all that stands between him and the top of the class. It's enough to leave a girl smitten, isn't it, Blazy? What are you talking about? I'm not smitten. I just admire him for his kind heart is all. Blazy, why ever did you dash off like that? Has she taken ill? In a matter of speaking, I'll go and make sure she's okay. Oh dear, well, whatever it is, I hope she recovers quickly. In the meantime, we need to put our heads together if we hope to get out of this mess. Lynn, what do you think? Why would anyone go to such lengths to implicate Archibald? Perhaps he implicated himself. Nah, that would be a little bit crazy. But of course, none save the kidnapper himself or herself would have such a strong motive to concoct this convoluted plan, which raises the possibility that the kidnapping was not but a plot to have Archibald expelled in the first place. In other words, if we can track down the person behind these letters, we'll have ourselves the culprit behind Yula's abduction. We must inform Inspector Briarden straight away. He's currently conducting an investigation at the vault, you say? Let us make our way over there with all speed. Move, bitch! Get out the way! Get out the way, bitch! Get out the way! That's him over there. Oh, it's you. What brings you all the way here? You have something to report? I see. Show me these letters. I shall determine if they are as suspicious as you insist. This is everything we've been able to find. The author goes out of his way to mention that Yula's copy of Volume 11 was found in Archibald's room. The fool, in his feeble plot to frame the prefect, he has only incriminated himself. I trust that you, too, have put the pieces together. You have proven an able associate indeed. It is from here, however, that the real work begins. Should at any time you begin to feel your power of concentration waver or your attention to detail slip, you need but do this. Take a deep breath and focus your eyes into the distance. In that moment, the solution will appear before you. The game is afoot, and if we intend to win the day, we must remain vigilant. Now, let's get our man. Bam-ba-da-ba. As we learn to emote spectacles. As we also get Inspector's eyeglasses, which is quite something. Well, it's not bad. It's pretty good. Let me go and do like what is that emote called? Where is it? Spectacles. Wow! I never known. That is an interesting one. I've never seen a female version of that. Because Briarden is usually the one just spamming it. Before we begin pursuing our man in earnest, answer me this. Can any of you tell me where Yula's copy of Volume 11 currently is? The letters say it was found in Archibald's room, though, for all we know, that could be complete and utter bollocks. Lynn, I see you've managed to keep your word to Laboratoire. Very good. Allow me to enlighten the rest of you. The tome is currently in my possession. Laboratoire, I discovered it in Archibald's room and turned it over to us in secret for fear it would fuel the ongoing rumors. Now knowing what you do, it is time to put your minds to the test. What do you surmise is the relationship between our talented writer friend and the thief that lifted the book from Yula's quarters? Well, they are one and the same. A sensible deduction, the planting of the book in Archibald's quarters and the subsequent distribution of these letters were both carried out by to a common end, to implicate the prefect in Yula's abduction and force his expulsion. It would stand to reason that the perpetrators are either working in tandem or in fact are one and the same. While that in itself does not reveal the identity of the culprit, it does lead us to our next question. Who would have been able to enter and exit Yula's room unnoticed? The perpetrator was able to move quickly and not draw attention to themselves in the act, leading me to believe our book snatcher had easy access to all rooms within the dormitory. How, you might ask? Keys, something only 3 people currently possess, Father Sauternois, and the prefects Archibaldin and Labrossoir. So one of them is the culprit, but which could it be? It couldn't be. I'm kind of leaning towards Labrossoir or the big boy. Well, nah, Labrossoir has been... Nah, it couldn't be. I know, it was Archibaldin. Think about it. It explains why he was so adamant in refusing our help. But what sense is there in him stealing the book when the only thing it would serve to do is implicate him in a crime he may not have even committed? That leaves Labrossoir. As the only other person aside from the inspector and Lynn who came into contact with the book, I'd say he's a prime suspect. It certainly is suspicious, but what motive could he possibly have? If only there was a way we could glean the answer. Then I hear you possess a great gift, one which you employed to reveal long-hidden truths about our nation. Might you not be able to use this power to shine some light on the matter at hand? So it is not yours to control. I guess that means we'll need to rely on our own wits to obtain the answers we seek. Fortunately, I have an idea of my own, but I'll need your help to see it through. Well then, Theo, let us put this idea of yours into action. Last I heard, Archibaldin and Labrossoir have taken refuge in Mail Manor. Let's make our way there post-haste. I'll leave it to you to see that the bumbling of those three do not interfere with the final stage of my investigation at the vault. But do not tarry long, with Father Sauternois throwing his full support behind the petition. The boy has but a few bells before his name is permanently struck from the registry. I shall do what I can to see that the proceedings are delayed, but I cannot guarantee it will buy us all the time we need. Godspeed, Lynn. I'll see you at the hearing. Yeah, I don't find a motive really for Labrossoir. Mind you, he could be just been lying, but I don't know. Findings! Huh, as if anything you four managed to dig up can help me now. The hearing is about to begin. My fate is as good as sealed. There's still time, Archibaldin. Earlier you pledged your innocence to us. Let us pledge it once more at the hearing. Before one and all, the truth shall speak for itself. The truth? You expect those fools to see the truth when this evidence to the contrary is staring them in the face? How do you think this plan your pea-sized minds have concocted will succeed where all Labrossoir's best attempts have failed? We will succeed, Archibaldin, for it is not just I that stands with you, but the hero who brought to light the truth behind our very nation. Yes, there's nothing that she has not seen. Surely you understand the implications of this, don't you, Labrossoir? Lynn has the ability to peer into the events of the past. Indeed, it was through her visions that Ishgard's true origins were brought to light. Huh, you need say no more. She has already used her vaunted power to see that I was the one behind it all. Yes, it was I that kidnapped Yula, and it was I that snuck into her room and stole Volume 11, and it was I that distributed the letters. All so that I might implicate Archibaldin. How satisfying it is to finally be able to say it aloud, for so long as I have had... I'm sorry, my mind is a little bit like, okay, this is stupid. For so long as I have I've had to plot my revenge in silence and mask my hatred of you with hollow praise and bashful smiles. Labrassoir, what madness is this you speak? You truly are oblivious, aren't you? Then allow me to enlighten you. After all the transgressions your family has committed against mine, did you truly think I would remain loyal to you? For centuries your house has humiliated us. It was something we'd come to accept, but when the wall between the nobility and the common class came tumbling down, we were met with the most harrowing truth of all, that all our suffering had been for naught. Everything we grew up believing about our status was a fabrication, tall tales spun to keep us complacent. In reality, you're no better than the two broom rats beside you. You never were. It was a terrible realization, but one that also gave me hope. Hope that you could be taken down, just as any other. That's when I began plotting. Yuela's abduction, the letters and the rumors they spurred, all was a part of my master plan. To bring shame and dishonor on you and your family as you have mine. I've staked everything, yes, even my own freedom, but it was worth it to give you a taste of our pain. What's more, I bribed the two kidnappers into abducting Yuela with money from your purse, and having entrusted the management of your finances to me, you never suspected a thing. Labrassoir, I can only imagine the pain you have endured, but to seek revenge in this way... Nevertheless, I thank you for confessing to your crimes. Now we can absolve Archibaldin of the false charges brought against him. Wait a minute, you mean that she didn't actually see into the past? You deceived me. If you'll recall, Theo never explicitly said that Lynn had a vision of what happened to Yuela. He merely observed that she possessed such an ability. Truth be told, it's not even a power that can be controlled at will. Now then, Archibaldin, I suppose that's all the proof of innocence you'll need. Let's escort Labrassoir to the hearing and have him repeat his most dramatic confession before the headmistress. I never saw it. The hatred I made. How could I have been so blind? We've been friends from childhood, and never for a moment did I question his loyalty. What a fool I was. However did I think I could stand at the forefront of our nation, and was so oblivious to that which was happening under my very nose? Archibald, pray do not torture yourself so. Rather, open your heart and allow Heloin's wisdom to set you free. Once you come to see Labrassoir not only as your friend, but as your peer, I promise that the both of you will find a way to mend any bonds that have been broken. With a furious love will all men receive, and by the balance of her spirit will all be set free. You truly believe those words, don't you? You cling to them even when reality does all it can to prove you wrong. I suppose it is that unwavering faith that your friends find so endearing. Now then, it is time for me to put my own faith to the test, and face my fate head on. May the Fury have mercy. So what are we waiting around here for? We've a hearing to attend. I'll meet you two there. There's something I must confirm with the inspector first. Then I cannot shake the feeling that this affair runs far deeper than any of us could have imagined. If you would, please accompany Archibald to his hearing and see to it that nothing goes awry in my absence. I must say, Master Labrassoir, that I am extremely disappointed. That anyone, much less a student of our upstanding establishment, would commit such atrocities, I'm truly at a loss of words. Mistress Elvian, if I may, do you not find the timing of these confessions to be incredibly convenient? It's as if Master Labrassoir here has been coerced into admitting to crimes he himself didn't commit. Let us not rush to condemn a man who may very well be innocent. We must also keep in mind that this incident will have repercussions that extend beyond the scholasticate. Distrust of our church has never been so high. If we were to expel either one of our prefects, both of whom have strong ties to House de Mail, it will lose any credibility our establishment still has in the eyes of the citizens. To this end, I would propose an alternative plan. We will make a full disclosure of this scandal to the public, together with an announcement that St. Endelim's Scholasticate will be temporarily closed. In this past time, we pushed for a full reformation of the school and its curriculum. And there it is, the confession I've been waiting for. I have no idea who's talking. I expected him, but I wasn't sure. Confession. Master Briarden, explain yourself. From the start, I had my suspicions that someone was pulling strings behind the scenes. Someone who had secured a high enough position within the clergy to manipulate the students and the system. I poured through records, closely examining any who fit this description. It's no easy task, but I finally found what I was searching for, and combined with the confession Theomacent obtained from Laboratory, I was able to uncover the true culprit. I speak of you, Saturnois, and I do not call you father, for you are no priest. The documents admitting you into your current position were all forged. You manipulated Laboratory into carrying what you yourself could not. You stirred up discord among the students and fomented the people's distrust of the clergy in the hopes of creating an even greater rift between the people of Ishgard and the clergy, all in the hopes of seeing the Scholasticate closed down once and for all. But I don't understand. Why would Father Saturnois seek to ruin the Scholasticate? The answer to that would lie in his past. Over a decade ago, Saturnois graduated top of his class and was welcomed into the ranks of the Holy See. It was there he was assigned work as an expurgator. Expurgator? What are you talking about? In all my years serving the Holy See, I've never heard of such a post. I'd be more surprised if you had. Our holy body of decency, a sector that is comprised of a few selected individuals, is perhaps the best kept of Ishgard's many secrets. Its existence is known only to a handful of people beside the Archbishop himself. I am impressed, Master Briarden. It would seem your reputation is well deserved, though I must correct you on one account. I am no expurgator, but rather one of the so-called watchmen consigned to guard them. That said, we shared a similar fate, both expurgator and watchmen alike. We were struck from official records and confined in the bowels of the Holy See, damned to live out our lives in the shadows as pallid husks of the men and women we could have been, all so that someday we might fulfill one task. Where written records were deemed too dangerous, expurgators would serve as living documents, orally passing down our nation's greatest secrets. When the time came for the Archbishop's successor to his center throne, we would briefly emerge from our isolation to pass from our mouths to their ears all we knew of Ishgard before sinking back into obscurity. Of course, no highborn man or woman would be condemned to this fate. No, this was a destiny reserved for commoners, orphans with no ties to the world above. Seven hells, so if the truth hadn't come to light, Theo and I... Men and women forced to sacrifice their own lives that our nation's darkest secrets might be preserved forever unbeknownst to her people. I can scarcely believe my ears, whatever. Father Saturnois, the friend you spoke of. Yes, he was an expurgator. Such anguish did his duties cause him that he chose death over that wretched excuse of a life. And while a new era is upon us, one that does not condemn the innocent to a life of despair for the sake of one man, it does not undo the injustice of 1,000 years. It was to right the wrongs of the past that I skipped that foul dungeon and made my way to the place where it all began. This twisted institution, the place responsible for stealing the bright futures of young orphans, needs to be closed down for good. Father Saturnois, your actions are heinous, and I can in no way condone them. That said, if there is truth to what you say, perhaps it would be best for us to suspend all lessons until we can reach a consensus as to how we might proceed. But Headmistress Elvian, would not closing down the Scholasticate be akin to evading our responsibility as men and women of the clergy? It is our duty to speak the truth, not bury it. For too long, the people have been fed naught but lies. It is time we took the initiative and gave them reason to put their faith in us once more. I must agree with the Omniscient. As I have learned firsthand, we must take care never to abuse our power and privilege, lest we hurt the people closest to us. To keep silent would be to repeat the mistakes of our past. The only way we can move forward is to take responsibility for our actions, and make an earnest effort to reach out to those we have wronged. While we may never receive forgiveness, at least we can attempt to atone for any anguish we may have caused those that did not deserve it. It is true that all men are born equal, as I have heard so many in this room preach time and time again. Then all are entitled to know the truth. Let us lead by example and freely share all that we have learned here today. Father Saruman, while I cannot pretend to understand your ordeal or soothe the fury that has taken hold in your heart, I can promise you one thing. I swear on Father Choiseau's copy of the Parables of Saint Danaphin that not you nor any of those who shared your fate will ever again be forgotten. Thus all was laid bare before the public, the atrocities suffered by expurgator and watchmen alike, along with the hand of the Scholasticate, and this holy see I can't even read it in time. So was it a new patch was forth that day, one that would see a renewed faith in the church and its teachings, where the citizens would come to learn that all men should be regarded as equal, not only in the eyes of alone, but also by one another. Gotta go fast, boys! And then this one doesn't disappear fast. What the hell? This game is playing with my emotions. Right. Lynn, thank you for restoring peace to the Scholasticate. You have reminded us that there is a world beyond these doors that relies as much upon us as we do on them. You have opened our eyes and shown us that destiny is but the choices we make. If we are strong and persevere, I have no doubt we can rebuild the Scholasticate and regain the people's trust. Lynn, now that your work here is done, I suppose it's time for farewells. The time for farewells is upon us. Will you be departing Ishgard immediately? It's sad to say farewell, but let's send you and the Inspector off in style. Ah, there's my trusted associate. I feared I might not be able to bid you a proper farewell before I left. On behalf of my uncle, allow me to thank you for all your hard work. There's still so much fighting and bickering going on. Couldn't you stay with us just a bit longer? I fear there are more pressing mysteries that demand my attention, not to mention a certain young lady in Ul'dah who awaits my return. Oh, another client of yours, I take it. Theo, is your head screwed on backwards? He's talking about it. Tactless fools, the both of you. But I suppose you're nothing if not sincere, eh, Theo? And while I'll admit that naivete is one of your more endearing traits, combined with the blunderings of the idiot beside you, it's like us not to bring the Scholasticate to ruin. That's why you'll need someone with extensive knowledge of the affairs of Ishgard, and the proper connections, to actually bring about the change you seek. Someone like me. The words of a man looking to steal his way into our dear Theo's heart. Blazy and Lay, it seems you've got competition. The Fury take you all, call me what you will, but Theo would never replace me with anyone, much less a conniving snake like Archibald. How refreshing it is to hear such playful banter among my friends. It would seem my worries are finally behind us. Before we celebrate, however, there's one last thing. Blazy, I'd like to thank you for your support. Were it not for your meticulous notes and sharp eyes, Eula would still be missing. Lynn, Inspector, words are not enough to express our gratitude. It was only because of you that we were able to unmask the perpetrator and restore peace to our school. Just as Father Choiseau brought you to us in Gorgon Hills, I cannot help but feel Helone guided you to us in our time of need. We hope to one day repay the kindness you have shown us by rebuilding the Scholasticate. When next you visit, we hope she will have retaken her place as the nation's top establishment of higher learning, and once again serve to light the people's way back to the halls of Helone. Our fair nation has seen her share of tragedy and turmoil, but I take heart in knowing that there are those such as yourself to watch over her, and see that she does not stray from her course. Till we meet again. And there we go. That is now finally done. And we get off the holy body, and we also get ourselves the scholastic robe. Which... meh. Can't say I like it that much. Mind you, I don't dislike it, it's just... meh. Anyway, my friends, I was thinking about doing the next dungeon, but it's gonna take a while to just get through the quest and then also do the dungeon, so I think I'm just gonna end it off over here. I hope you enjoyed this episode of I was playing Final Fantasy XIV, and next episode we're gonna go and get back to some more actual, like, I guess, content? More like... just doing random fetch quests, really. But we're definitely gonna start with this quest, though, because this is gonna lead us to a fun dungeon. Alright, anyway, goodbye.